everyone, here's a race from the 2023 Super Series. This is round 8, it's the Unley Criterium. I've been sitting on this footage for a little while, some of you will know why. What didn't go well for us as a team, but before we get into that, let's have a bit of a look at the circuit. So as you can see, I'm starting right at the back. I haven't quite figured out how to be aggressive enough to get right up on the front line. Right off the bat, after the first corner, there's this little chicane. It's a 4-corner crit around an oval, and on this straight there's some road furniture. This corner's a little bit tricky because as you come over the corner there's a bit of an off-camber section on the run out from the corner. Now, there wasn't a huge amount of wind today, so it wasn't like there was a fast section and a slow section, but there was a manhole cover in the middle of the corner. This corner was fine, there was a bit of gravel on the inside, but because it was dry, the paint didn't make it slippery like last year. The back straight was quite bumpy, so it was often a bit tricky to really put the power down because your hands are going everywhere as we come down the back straight. And then as we come into this corner, you can take this corner as fast as you like if you get the inside line. It was always a bit nervous coming through the corner because people are a bit unpredictable coming through it. Now, as we come across the line, you'll see that there are sort of caravans or little cabins on both sides of it, and that'll be a bit important later. But that's it, that's the first lap, and there's 29 of them to go. Now, coming into this series, we were pretty much nowhere. None of us were high enough in the GC to really make it onto the podium. So today was just about getting through to the end and either getting Jared off the front for another perler, or me, hopefully, a bit of a lead out in the last couple of laps. Now this course is an interesting one to race because if you're right at the front, it's really fast, it's pretty smooth, and you can keep a pretty constant tempo. If you're at the back, you can tail gun it a lot, and it's pretty easy. There's not a whole lot of sprinting you have to do out of the corners. You can see as I'm coming into the corner, I'm making up ground on those who are sort of slowing down through the corner, and I'm not having to do too much work to get back up to speed. But if you're in the middle of the pack, it's the washing machine effect, and it's a lot of work just to try to keep position. And so typically on this course my strategy is to spend the first half of the race sitting near the back, just trying to conserve energy, and then from about halfway through the race I'll start moving up and try to be near the front. Now while we're here you can see my team. There's Alistair in the pink socks just ahead of me, and a couple of other mood riders in the blue-pink kit, and just behind me with the flowing beard is Lampy, also riding for Mood. He's got an enormous engine, as does Alistair up ahead. There are 6 of us on the start line today, which is the maximum per team for these races. So let's see how it plays out. Now, unfortunately, on about lap 7 or 8, there was a crash. I've not shown the crash. A couple of my friends were involved and got quite badly hurt. All I'm going to say about it is that it was a racing incident. It was an accident. Nobody was riding stupidly or dangerously, and it's just one of those things that happens. In any event, we restart, and after I think we get a bit of a neutral lap, we're back into the racing. We only lost about 5 minutes of the race, but unfortunately that threw off my calculations because my Wahoo stopped the timer, and so I was never quite sure how much time was left in the race. When we restarted, there were just 3 of us from Mood left, Aidan Lampy on the right, whose DI2 had just gone flat, so he was stuck in his little ring, and Jared Fife, who's just ahead of me. I was hoping that Jared would be able to make a bit of an attack. Unfortunately, he didn't have the legs today, and so he was essentially just riding around with me for the first 3/4 of the race. But our team of 6 is down to 3. The other 3 were bundled off to hospital in ambulances. And I got to tell you, after that I was more than a bit shook up, and as you can see I'm taking these corners pretty damn gingerly. We were told for this first lap that we were not to pass Lockie Ambrose. Lockie Ambrose is the guy who's just gone out the back behind me, so I was trying to sit behind him while the rest of the bunch just disappeared off the road, but never mind. I think we still took it pretty easy for the first lap. And then as we came around this corner, things got back up to normal. Now, as you're crossing the finish line, you can see that there's a couple of officials on both sides of the road, or at least that's what I thought. In actual fact, it was just a guy with a blue shirt standing on the left. He wasn't an official. I was under the impression that the flags and the timing were all on the left-hand side of the road as you go through the start-finish. And so I was looking for the 2 laps to go banner, and I was listening for the whistle on the left-hand side. Unfortunately, as I found out towards the end of the race, the officials were all on the right-hand side of the road, and I'll be blunt, I just didn't see the 2 laps to go, and I was completely caught out when people started sprinting. Anyway, jumping forward a hot minute, we're sort of 2/3 of the way through the race, and I can see that there's a gap between the front sort of 6 riders, and I decided it's time to start moving up. I come around on the outside, or on the inside I guess, doing a bit of extra work, but I move up about 5 places, and I come through the corner sort of on my own terms. Up to now I've sort of been moving up 1 or 2 places every lap. I haven't really been in a hurry to get to the front, but now that there's a gap off the front, I've decided that it's time to get into the action. At this point I still have ambitions on finishing this race in the top 10. My heart rate's at 184 beats a minute, but I'm feeling pretty good. I've been sitting in and just gradually moving up. Probably worth talking about one of the features of the course here. This corner here goes over a spoon drain, and then there's a manhole cover just after the spoon drain, and it is a solid thump as you go around the corner. It always makes people really sketchy through the corner because you're never quite sure what line someone's going to take. It's much smoother to hit it sort of diagonally, but it's a bit safer to hit it straight on because that way you're not sort of turning through the spoon drain. I've mentioned the fact that this corner finishes off camber before, so if you do most of your turning before the corner, you're fine through that one. And then this is one where Nick Underwood slid out last year on a really wet, oily day for the last round, but on the dry day it was fine. But anyway, having moved up a little bit there, I think it's probably about time just to sit in. Coming up this sort of second to last straight, I often found that you could move up quite a bit on the outside as people began to slow down. If you took the outside, it was a longer way around the corner, but I found that you could pedal the whole way through it, and even if you lost a bike's length, you usually came out of the corner a bit quicker. The trouble is that puts you into this first corner on the outside rather than on the inside. It means you can choose your own line a bit more, but it also means you're at the mercy of people who might be taking a unexpected line over the spoon drain. And then it always has to narrow down to sort of single or double file as we go past these chicanes. And as you can see, some people are taking it pretty close to the curb. A couple of laps later, it's been hot and fast for the last few, but then it sort of slows down for a bit. And all of a sudden, Jared and I managed to make our way to the front of the bike race. Now, if you've ever listened to NorCal Cycling, he'll harp on one thing, which is when the race slows down, that's the time to attack. Now, I'm not an attacking rider, I'm a sprinter, but Jared is a really good bet for a long attack, especially if he can have 2 or 3 people with him. So I get up next to him and ask him if he wants a lead out, and I sort of put the beans down a bit, but I look back and pretty quickly realise that he's not sitting on my wheel, and there's not really much point. I go on a little mini attack just kind of for fun. If the race is that slow, why not? But as I said, I'm never going to be a breakaway rider. What it does show though is as you go through that corner on the front, you can choose your line perfectly, and it is so much smoother. You keep so much more speed if you can pick that line. Anyway, I realise that this is going nowhere, so I throw out the parachutes and let some other riders come through. But what that does tell me is that Jared's not interested in a late race breakaway, and so as far as I'm concerned now, it's got to come down to a sprint, and hopefully I can be in a good position for that. I'm not quite sure why I'm going off the front again here. I'm only sitting just over threshold, so it's not like I'm giving it a whole lot of effort. But somehow I've got a gap. And again, I'm doing 300, well, I was doing 330 watts when I got the gap. And now that I've seen that I've got a decent gap, I've kicked it up to sort of 400 watts. I'm not really sure why I'm doing this. We haven't had a 2 lap to go, which is probably about the furthest that I could possibly hope to sustain something like this. Coming up to a lap rider here, I think he might have had a mechanical. This is not sustainable for me in any way. I am not going to be able to hold this kind of pace through to the end of the race. My heart rate's hitting 191 beats a minute, so it's not like I'm soft pedaling this. I think I glanced behind and realised that people are coming and once again throw out the parachutes. Not really sure why I did that. It was a bit stupid. With nobody in my wheel, it was a doomed attack. I think I saw it, there was a gap and just couldn't let it go. probably a mistake, or definitely a mistake. And I think I slot back in sort of halfway back through the pack, having given up all of the good work that I did to get up near the front. Anyway, we're just coming into 3 laps to go. And remember, I'm looking on the left for the 2 laps to go sign. But in actual fact, you can see the commissaires on the right, and that's where the 2 lap to go sign is going to be. But I think it's because they've been in the shade the whole time, I just literally have not noticed that that's where the comms are all standing, and so I had no idea. Completely self-inflicted, as you'll see, but as we come through to get the 2 laps to go sign, again, remember I'm looking off to the left. This is the first time that the commissaires have really been visible in my mind. And of course it's perfectly obvious when you go through in slow-mo that there's the 2 lap to go sign. Big orange and black banner, but I just didn't see it. So now here we are with what I now know is 2 laps to go. And remember I was at 190 beats per minute when I was off on that stupid solo breakaway. I'm feeling really good. I know we're near the end of the race. I'm reasonably happy with my position because I don't think we've got 2 laps to go. I'm pretty comfortable that I can move up on the back straight when it's time to do so. I'm just keeping my powder, what's left of it, dry at this point. Poor Binook loses a bit of the wheel there and has to fight to get back on. But at this point, I'm not stressing about where I am, and I should have been. I mean, this is 2 laps to go. This is the critical portion of the race. This is when, this is my time. This is when I can get to the front. So, I'm doing 400 watts here, but then I come off the power as everyone else does. I could have been sprinting up the left here and made up, 5, 6 wheels just at that point. And of course, what I don't realise is that everyone else is attacking to try to get up the front because they know it's 2 laps to go. And then across here, I don't hear the bell. And again, I'm looking to the left. I'm still looking for the 2 laps to go sign. I figure I've been pretty well wide awake this whole time, so I should have seen it. So I know I'm not really listening for the bell, because it's 2 laps to go, right? And again, the pace is really going up, and I'm loving this because when the pace goes up, it gets nice and smooth back here in the van. And no worries, I figure if this is what everyone's doing with still more than 2 laps to go, then I'll let them burn themselves out. And I think at this point, it might have slowly dawned on me that maybe the pace was up pretty high for what was, maybe a late race attack. But anyway, I figure it's nice and strung out. People are going to be dropping off the front pretty quickly. I thought I might move up 1 or 2 places. I can see some gaps, and at this point I know I've got to move up to close those gaps, but Nick Clark comes through ahead of me, and I figure I'll let him close it. And coming around this corner, and people are sprinting. What's going on? People are... What? His arms are up. Oh, shit. Anyway, I literally did not know that it was the finish until I crossed the line and saw people with their arms up and then coming off the gas. And I cannot tell you just how pissed off I was with this whole thing. I mean, having lost 3 teammates, a third of the way into the race, come into this and not known that it was the finish. I mean, I'm fresh. My heart rate's, going into that was down to 170 beats a minute. And to finish the race without having had an effort, without having actually been on the red line, without having given it a go, was the most disappointing and dissatisfying thing in the whole race for me. I don't mind losing if, someone outsprints me. Jamison came past me at the East End street race. He beat me fair and square. He was just faster, but I was sprinting. I was giving it everything I had. Today, though, I didn't even know. And that really sucked. So anyway, Unley was not a great race for Mood this week, with 3 people in hospital, 1 person out with a dodgy DI2, and 2 of us who finished nowhere. Which is a real pity, because we were really beginning to gel as a team, and I think we would have done really well if there'd been some more races after this. Anyway, that was the end of the Super Series. I managed to take home the Masters category by a single point from Frank, who was rampaging home at the end there. But all in all, not a bad year for the first series with a new team, and I look forward to racing with them next year. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that one, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.